There are tracks in here from an ATV that was run through this forest after it was stolen. But looking at it in this direction, it's hard to see because I'm doing it backwards. I'm backtracking it. You can see kind of disturbance here, and notably that log right there, and a parallel mark over here. So this crushing right here is fresh. You can see the color of that hasn't darkened yet, and there's also damaged sticks in here, and you can see the general disturbance here in the shape of a tire mark. It's not really obvious because this is very wet vegetation right now and doesn't hold sign very well. But they drove an ATV through here to get around 3 log jams. So to get around the log jams, they came through here. Up at the top here, you can kind of see a rut right there where they went across that vegetation. So it's not perfectly obvious in here because all this stuff stood back up after it was driven on. But look up there. So the tire marks show that there was some speed here. So maybe to get traction, they sped up to get traction. But you can see how it was dug into the ground there. There's a lot of disturbance there. So from this perspective, doesn't look like much happened, does it? But this is looking in the direction of travel. So you got this crushed log here, and then you have all this crushing right here. And I'm showing this from up above. When you get close, you can see more of the details, like the fresh breaks on this, and the fresh breaks down below, the mashed down leaves, and you can kind of see the rut from the wheel, the right wheel there. This was the left wheel. Here's this crushed log that got run over by something heavy. Some fresh stuff there. And then you can see the wheel mark. Now both of the wheels end up in this large area marks right here. Now, I don't know how he got over that log. Unless it's lightweight enough that they can lift it. But it looks to me like they got some speed and then did a wheelie with the front end to get it up and get it over this log. There's a tire mark here. You can see that the tires obviously hit this. That's been crushed down. And this tire mark also. So, they got over this log. And I am told by the person that reported this to me that they were stacking brush to get over some of the bigger logs down below. So, I'm going to go back a little bit and see if I can find any indication of speed. Okay, my initial impression was wrong. They did go up to that log, but the reason those tires were so deep is they reversed direction. They came back down, so I gotta go back up there, because they chose this route instead. So, straight up this embankment to get through there, and that will connect to where those other logs were. So I spotted it when I was up on that embankment up here, and I thought this was how they got in here, but it's not. So these marks right here indicate where it turned. So the depth of these marks are because it stopped right there. The 4 tires, they stopped. Then they came backwards, and I ignored these marks before, which happens sometimes. You know, you're doing this live, you kind of miss things. So they came backwards and turned around and then went that way. So you can see the marks from here, and it's much easier to see here. You can see the curvature of the parallel marks that end up here. I just found this interesting. They went through a black bear scat right here, and the bear's been eating grass. And further up there I found some of that scat, so it adhered to the tire. So here's when they came back, the very faint parallel marks. Right here. So then the trail goes up here. And you can see the really obvious stuff up there. That was requiring more torque from the engine to pull them up there to get them past that embankment. And it looks like they had to back up at least once and really push on the gas, because you can see the dirt that got flung backwards by the tires here as they made their way up. So it required a lot of power from the engine to move up this embankment, which is probably a little less than 45-degree angle, but it's still a good angle. And I don't know how they do it because I don't ride these things, but you can see that they went up and then kind of like that. So I don't know, maybe I'll try to go up there and see if I can find the route. It's all a bunch of poison oak up there too, so I'm being careful. Okay, I didn't go straight up that because it was too steep. So I'm at the top now, and from up here the marks are much more obvious. And the reason is, it wasn't just rolling along. This was, they put a lot of torque and power behind the engine to get up here. So, came straight up, made an angle here, really scuffed the soil there, and here, you can see that was made by a tire mark. So then, through here, you have broken branches, freshly broken branches, and there's disturbance to the soil right there from the right tire, and then the left tire over here. So they went around this log. So that tangle right there of logs, you can't get around that stuff. So this is going to connect up to where I was before. So here you go through here, and then can't go that way. They're forced to go this way. So this is, in a way, it's kind of like following animal trails, because animals aren't going to go through this either. They're going to take the easier route. In this case, it was under this fallen tan oak branch. Just a moment, I'm ducking under. Okay, I got under the branch. There's poison oak in here, I got to watch where I go. So, what you notice here is these parallel markings. Let's go a little closer so I can show you what some of the sign is that's pointing this trail out to me. Right here, it's just this subsidence of the soil, broken branch right there with a fresh break, and this is the color of a fresh break I just made. In here, you see all these broken branches on top. Right here, you see that broken branch and the disturbance to the soil through here. So parallel marks again, right through here. And there's a really nice broken log right there. That's a new fresh break, because as these get aged, the color of them will get darker as they absorb more moisture. Oh, right through the poison oak. Good choice of route. So it goes this way, around that tree right there, and he couldn't get through that log, so I had to go this way. Right through the poison oak. Nice. So now I'm above the trail, and you can see it circling around here, to the left of this tree. To the right of this tree, to the left of that tree. The log is preventing any access to the left, which is where they want to go. Don't ask me how I know that. So that's something that will tell you intention on the trail. So this person is following an old dirt road that has been abandoned for a long time. Nobody drives on this road. I hike in here, but I'm the only one that comes in here. So since they seem to know where they're going, they may have been here before. So that goes to intention that you can read in the trail. Familiarity with the area will show up in things like that. Do they hesitate at intersections, or do they just make a choice and go? So, crushed, brand new broken branches there. A lot of sign right here. And right there, again, they came up to the log. Did they go over it? Yes, this time they did. So the log looks virtually untouched except for a little bit of lost bark right there, which fell down here. They lost some bark. The trail does not go on that way. It goes this way. You can see the sign here and here. So this again is my unfamiliarity with these vehicles. I don't know how they get over a log, but they do. 4-wheel drive. Anyway, my role here is tracking, not driving the darn thing. So where the sign picks up right there, you can see, let me get to it. Right here you can see how the wheel grabbing traction threw back some of the vegetation here, all the way down to the soil. And then they went this way. So there's a log here. They had to duck, or they would have clotheslined themselves here, which might have been kind of entertaining. And it looks like they went this way. So if you were making a route choice here, would you go straight through that, which is really difficult stuff? Or would you make for something a little more clear, like that or that? I think our person went this way, because I'm not seeing any sign there, but I am seeing sign over here. So, they actually went up and around. I'm going to cut short that, because I'm trying to stay out of the poison oak. So let's go look over here on this log. So the sign is not obvious. It's very subtle, and you're just looking at crushed bits of log. Let's go around. Whoops. Okay, I need to stop filming so I can get around this. Okay, so I'm doing this with an injured knee, by the way, so that's why I'm being super careful where I go. Anyway, you have that log, which is just shredded right there and shredded right here. I'm seeing the sign coming this way from the other path that I just left momentarily. So I want to go up here and see which one of these paths they took. So part of the thing in tracking is you're going to find false trails, and you're going to look at it and go, did they go that way? Nah. And then you're going to go, did they go that way? Yeah. So in this case, that's what I'm doing, is I'm kind of looking over the two trails, trying to decide which one is fresher, which one was the one that they actually chose. And I don't know, I kind of like them both, but let's go look a little closer at it. So even though this is fairly fresh, the other thing I have to look at and contend with in here is black bear sign. So to me, this kind of looks more solid, like the kind of thing a bear would do, ripping apart a log. So I'm going to go look at the other one and confirm if that's true or not, because there's also this suspicious looking sign on that log as well, which may or may not connect to that. But then, well, you know, there might be a faint trail right here. So that's one possibility. The other possibility is over here. And I'll look at this trail too, just to kind of rule it out or decide which one I like better. So if the bears were in here, bears make a lot of sign. And this thing looks like it was just exploded, but you know, that's nothing for a bear. They come in here all the time and just rip open these logs to get food. So, I don't know. Either one of these two could be it. So, let's go a little further and see if there's any indication that this was it. And we'll go look. So, I've decided that I can't decide on either one of these. So, I'm going to go back to my last good sign and see if I can determine from there, because that's what happens in tracking a lot. You're going to backtrack a little bit and forward track, backtrack again. So I decided that route just didn't make a lot of sense. So I'm going to go back over here and see if I can find anything else. Because even though it's a heavy vehicle, it's not obvious. And that's the thing with tracks, they're not always obvious. So my last good sign was coming over that log right there. And then they had to get away from this log here. So they went this way and came up, I think, this way. The other possibility is they could have gone this way. So did they go that way? Or did they go the way I originally thought? So over there, where those two logs are, it didn't seem to make a lot of sense. It looked a lot more like bear sign than it did this fresh ripped up stuff. So I'm kind of thinking that even though it's not that visible, that there's something through here. So this is what makes it really fun and challenging is you know, I'm tracking a big vehicle and doggone it, it doesn't look like it, does it? So here's another possibility. And you should always check out all your possibilities. This one is not showing fresh breaks or anything here. And I think that it would have shown something, even though they got over that last log without virtually a scratch almost. Seems like you would need a little engine torque to get through there. So, let's go check out this one. Hopefully I don't fall in the poison oak again. Whoops. Yes, I did that off camera. So, could they have come through here? Well, let's go follow this out and see. There is disturbance on the ground. Yeah, there is. Parallel lines of disturbance. I don't know, this looks a little better than that other one did. So, and here's some confirming evidence right there. A crushed banana slug. That poor slug got squished and rolled backwards, it looks like. And then you've got this mark right here. So, I think this is it. Now in these wet leaves, it's tough to see anything. So I think what I'm going to do is follow this out. And this is what you do when you're trying to find your trail. Is try to find the most obvious route. That's not a good route. That's a maybe. That's a really good route. And that's a no. So my thought is if they came this way, there's going to be more sign. And I'm seeing things like this. Freshly broken, as well as this right here, broken off from that, and a trail right here. Now, that's not real obvious, is it? That's tough to see. So, these leaves, because they're wet and they just squish right down, and it's been raining all day and hailing and thunderstorming, this is kind of difficult. So, here's some broken, smudged branches. You can see how the bark has been knocked off those. I think we're back on the trail. So there's a little bit of confusion in there where I was trying to make some bear sign into human sign. And that doesn't work very well. I don't think bears like it either. So it looks like we're on this road here. And as I'm going, I'm kind of keeping an eye out because would they try to go that way? Would they try to go this way? I don't know. Looks like they went this way. So here's some vegetation. This is really the first vegetation we've seen along this whole trail. But you can see all the vegetation right here is knocked down in that direction to travel. These ones show some very clear bruising. And you can flip over some of these other leaves and also see bruising. So these are new plants. It's not quite spring yet, almost spring. So the plants are showing evidence that they've been trampled by something heavy. But again, that trail is not obvious at all. Okay, so here, what I call confirming evidence. So after all that, trying to straighten out the trail, here it is. And that's undeniable. So the thing with this trail is, this has to be our culprit, because no vehicles are in here. You saw how many logs are down on this old road, and it's really only me walking around in here. So, that's how you kind of work out a trail when you're out tracking and trying to figure out which way they went, and kind of resolve those issues that you come across when you're out here trying to follow these things around. In this case, it's a big critter, so you can see, you know, how difficult it is to follow an ATV. And there is a bear scat. So bears have soft feet, and so even though the bear was out here, you know, the ATV tracks are even difficult to see. Here's an ATV track in a bear scat. Note the little chevron shape of the lug on the tire there. So the other thing is, this stick was knocked out of its little resting place right there. So, and it also got broken. See the ends? As it was rolled forward, it broke. So I'm going to check out the bear scat and pick this up later. So here's a bear trail picking up our ATV trail. So it looks like when he went around the last log, he came through the forest here because he didn't want to go through this log, so he basically went around it. And I didn't show that part, but we've already done that. Came out here going in this direction, and you can tell that because the vegetation is laid down in the direction of travel, and went down here, and I know for a fact encountered another log down there. Several logs, in fact. So that was not a good route. And you can tell here by these other tracks, with the vegetation laid down in the other direction, that they came back and went up this way. So basically trying to find their way out. Didn't know where they were, so this is again reading intention in the trail. If this person knew where they were, they would have just gone straight there. But they didn't know where they were, so they kind of poked around on all the roads until they could find their way out. So here's their turnaround point. They basically came out here, that intersection that I showed you, and found that it was blocked by several logs, and decided, hey, this doesn't go anywhere. So they turned around and they went back. So this was their turnaround point through the brush here, and instead of going over that log, they went back out the way they'd come. And this is where the bear trail takes off. It basically just goes into the forest. From there, there's forest. It goes down a hill and into a bunch of brush down there. So that's where the bear trail took off. Bear trail followed this ATV trail for a little ways, which was kind of interesting. Maybe the bear was curious, or maybe the bear was there beforehand and just said, hey, here's an easy trail. It's already been matted down by the tires of the ATV. So you can tell the direction of travel based on the vegetation laid down in that direction. So see, this is easier to see if you're right behind it than it is off to the side, because the color of the grass is slightly different because of the way that it reflects the light. So the trail coming towards you is not easy to see. The one going away with the grass laid down in that direction is much easier to make out. So we're back at the intersection with that little area of grass. Kind of a little triangle of grass here, and then it goes to forest stuff again. But this is the way they went. There's some leaf litter and pine needles up here, so maybe they went that way, and I can show you that sort of stuff. Let's see. Nope, they didn't. They went this way anyway. So here's pine needles, a little short section of them, and you can kind of make out the parallel marks connected up to that one. So that one's pretty obvious. But the pine needles, see right here, there's a tire track there. Pine needles tend to break wherever the lugs hit them. So you can look in here, you can find the unbroken ones, and in here you can see broken ones. So that'll help, but that's tedious. And it's a lot quicker to jump ahead to the easier tracks like this. And this goes on up there to another fallen log. So there's a lot of fallen logs in here because basically nobody comes in here. It's my neighbor's ranch. So anyway, that's just a little introduction to how to find and lose a trail and find it again and lose it again and fall in poison oak. And stuff like that you can do when you're out tracking. And it's always good practice. Even though this was an ATV, this was not easy to follow. You know, these trails seem like, oh, you know, it should be easy to follow the tracks because, you know, it's going over sand or whatever, but this is not stuff that's easy. And you're looking for sign. You're looking for broken branches, knocked over vegetation, logs knocked out of their socket on the ground, things like that. So you're looking at sign rather than actual tracks. And that's what makes it really fun, is following something around and seeing where it went. It's more fun with bears. I mean, this was an ATV, so not quite as exciting as a bear, but it at least gave me a good challenge. And when there's more daylight tomorrow, I'll try to come back out and see if I can follow it a little further. But since it's dusk right now, I want to get back before it gets dark. So I've got a kind of a side view on the trail right here. And you can see vegetation in the center that shows bruising like that. And it's also mashed down. So right through here, and you got a really nice leaf with bruising on it over there. And then up ahead, there's a trough almost through those ferns. And then you can see the bright color of that bark, or the tree trunk that was exposed when the bark fell off. So that's just a view from the side of the trail to kind of give you an idea what it looks like at different angles. So you can vary the angle at which you look at the trail, and that will also help you pick it out. Right through here and right through there. So right here, there's a lot of bruising on this. This is a plant called senicle, and it shows bruising very well if you step on it or if it gets driven over. This one has a ridge on it because it was pressed into this branch below it and made a little crease in the leaf there. So if you get up close and really into this, you can see things like broken off leaves with bruising on them. And sometimes there will be mud and stuff embedded in them. Or you can take the upper view and so look at it from standing upright view, and you can just see the overall characteristics of all the damage that indicates the trails here. Or you can get really close and look at it that way too. So detailed view, or you can take a more stand back and look at it view to catch the overall picture of the trail. Now looking this direction, it's not great, but it stands out a little bit more because you can see the direction that the vegetation indicates. So from here, looking that way, these ferns have been all knocked over in the same direction. So just something to look for, and I thought I'd show you that on my way back. Still getting dark, sun's down, but I thought I'd show you that before I head back, and maybe I'll pick this up tomorrow and add more to it. So I wanted to make some notes here. First of all, one thing you saw happen was I followed a trail initially, and I made some assumptions on that trail that turned out to be wrong. And my mind tried to link some of the evidence that I was seeing with the trail that I was following, and my initial start was on the correct trail. and then I ended up getting off of it. And that does happen, so don't feel bad about it. Happens to everybody. And, you know, it's just your mind's eye wants to make a trail or a track out of whatever it is that you're seeing on the ground, the evidence. And then there's also animals out here. There are deer, there are bear, there are humans. So there's conflicting evidence. So be aware that that can happen. And also, there were several false starts on trails. And notice how I kind of went through verbally, I tried to anyway, some of what I was seeing. And whether it was bear sign or whether it was the ATV in this case. And I tried to talk through it. I hope I didn't miss anything, but I was trying to show how this happens. So in real life, in real tracking and live tracking, I guess, you're going to find that you're going to get off on false trails like that, where I came to that one intersection and there was 2 different trails that could have possibly been it, and I completely ignored the third one that ended up being the correct one. So that does happen, and just kind of be aware that it happens, and you just have to kind of move on and sort it out, and then go on from there. So the really fun part is the learning that goes on, because every trail you follow, it gets stuck in your mind, all those details that you saw, and it helps you remember it next time, and it might help you to resolve some of those trails quicker next time. Instead of checking out 3 trails, maybe you'll stay on the one that's correct right away. Or maybe you'll slow yourself down and say, okay, I'm kind of losing the trail here, I need to go back and look again. And go back to where you had your last track, your last really good track or sign. And start from there, because that's sort of resetting what you did, and you can maybe look at it again, look at a different angle, and see if you can find it from there. So that's just some tips and pointers, and hopefully you enjoyed this trail following around this lost ATV, and hopefully I will pick this up again tomorrow and bring you some more entertaining losing and finding the trail again and following in Poison Oak. Okay, hope you enjoyed.